What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel. Hope that you guys are having a wonderful Tuesday evening. So, you guys remember the dancer who was on Ellen, and he was so loved. He was so popular from the show. So, You Think You Can Dance? His name was Stephen Twitch Boss, and he passed away from a self inflicted wound. And unfortunately, his now widow, Allison Holker, is speaking out about alleged substance abuse and an addiction that he had that was quote unquote very scary before the funeral. So she spoke out with People magazine, and I'll read the article in a second. But before I get into that, I want to let you guys hear some comments from his family, from other people online, because the two stories are conflicting. And so she is getting dragged for filth. For one, exposing her now late husband, right? Because she's essentially defaming his character. She's sharing his journals. She's sharing stuff that a lot of people, myself included, think that she should have kept private. But also, his family is saying that she was giving out NDAs at the funeral. Like they couldn't come and, grieve the loss of their beloved, loved one, son, you know, cousin, family member without signing an NDA. It says, Big L says online, I don't care about an NDA. This crazy woman made me and his actual family sign an NDA just to even attend the funeral. She's been trying to tarnish his legacy, refuses to let the Boss family see the children, only to exploit and lie on my cousin. Now, here's the thing, right? Because the autopsy report says more than 5 months after Stephen Twitch Boss passed away at age 40 in December of 2022, a new autopsy and police report is providing more details about his passing. It says shortly after the So You Think You Can Dance alums passing away, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner confirmed that he passed away via self inflicted wound to the head. And according to the new autopsy report, on May 24th, Wednesday, there were no illegal substances, no substances at all, or even alcohol found in his system at the time of death. So that's huge. That in the autopsy, there were no substances whatsoever, and there was no even alcohol. There were no traces of alcohol at the time of his passing away in December of 2022. So for her to come out after she's had his family sign an NDA, after the autopsy shows that there were no traces of any substances or alcohol, for her to now say that he was hiding so much, and that he was she discovered his quote unquote addiction to illegal substances in a very scary moment before the funeral with an exclusive. That's contradictory to what the autopsy is saying and his family. So I wanted to give you guys that backstory before we got into this article, because again, that's the reason why people are dragging her. She should have kept that private between them as a married couple, but also it contradicts what the autopsy report says. So in the People magazine article, it's titled Stephen Twitch Boss Widow Allison Holker discovered his quote unquote addiction to substances in a very scary moment before the funeral. So it says before Boss's passing in 2022, Holker, whose now new memoir details her own difficult childhood and healing journey, learned that her husband was struggling with painful demons. Allison Holker made a devastating discovery about her late husband, Stephen Twitch Boss, on one of the hardest days of her life. Weeks after the Ellis DeGeneres Show co-executive producer and longtime DJ passed away by a self-inflicted wound at age 40 in December of 2022, the dancer uncovered a cornucopia of illegal substances, including mushrooms, pills, and other substances I had to look up on my phone. hidden inside his shoebox. She says, I was with one of my really dear friends and we were cleaning up the closet and picking out an outfit for him for the funeral. Holker 36 recalls in an exclusive interview with People for its latest cover story. She says, it was a really triggering moment for me because there were a lot of things I discovered in our closet that I did not know existed. It was very alarming to me to learn there was so much happening that I had no clue about. It was a very scary moment in my life to figure that out, but also helped me process that he was going through so much and he was hiding so much. And there must have been a lot of shame in that. She says throughout their 9-year marriage, Holker details her healing journey in a new memoir titled This Far, out February 4th. She believed that she and Boss had a very honest communication, okay, including about his use of Mary Jane. At night, after the kids went to bed, he would quietly slip into their guest house to smoke or drink. That was his alone time. It was his time to recharge, and that was okay, she says. But as she combed through his journals, hoping to find clarity and closure after his death, Holker learned that her husband had a hidden, painful secret from even those closest to him. He was wrestling with a lot inside himself, and he was trying to self medicate and cope with all those feelings because he didn't want to put that on anyone because he loved everyone so much. She says of Boss, who alluded to being SA'd by a male figure during his childhood, in several of his journal entries. He didn't want and other people to take on his pain. She said while she felt betrayed by his secret, why she felt betrayed, so she's centering herself. This chick is a trip. Holker has also gained a new outlook over time. She continues, reading Stephen's journals and even going back into the books he had read and the things that he was highlighting and lining really gave me a better perspective of where he was in life and the type of things that he was struggling with. It did have me feel a lot of empathy towards him and sadness for all the pain that he was holding. She underscores that she's now sharing Boss's struggles in the aftermath of his death in hopes of saving even just one person who's been struggling in silence. It was really hard to put all the pieces together through certain discussions, even with friends, and things that have been said. Reading through his journals, you realize he went through a lot as a child and never faced it, she says. It's hard to think that he never opened up to someone and wanted to face it, to get through on the other side. I really hope people dealing with the same thing will help themselves out of the shadows and know that you're going to be okay. While Boss, who was acting withdrawn, showering less frequently, and smoking morning and night, acknowledged to her that he was going through a low period, he was very careful about his wording, she recalls. At the time, he was closing out 8 years on the Ellis DeGeneres show while also ending a run as a judge on So You Think You Can Dance. Still, we were getting ready for this big year, she says, and it seemed like, oh, he's taking a resting period, which he would say that he's never had. In hindsight, Holker believes that he was deeply struggling with the chasm between the extroverted Twitch, his beloved personal persona, and the introverted Stephen, a man who yearned to be the perfect husband and dad to their 3 kids, Wesley, who's 16, Maddox, who's 8, and Zarya, who's 5. When I think about my husband at the time, I would think, oh, I love that Twitch is such a great performer. But when he comes home, he feels safe enough to be Steven. I was with him for so long, and that's how he's been our entire relationship. I was like, it's a beautiful thing that he can be both. Looking back, Holker realizes that his two very different personalities were increasingly battling each other. What if he felt safe being this one individual that had a different kind of energy? She now wonders. You don't have to be a completely different person to put them aside from each other. The morning before he went missing, Boss dropped Wesley off at school. She was the last person in our family to see him alive. And his final words were I wish that I could be your Superman. Having someone say those last words to you, you really don't process it at the time as being anything wrong, and that's really hard, especially as a teenager, says Holker, noting that Wesley still attends the same school. She handles it with far more grace than she should have to. We took steps to really help her and communicate with her and make her feel seen and heard. I think she's also able to see those words as something beautiful and also ugly. It's a battle that she's going to always have with herself, but I know that she can see it from both sides. Feeling the full range of emotions and knowing that that's okay, that's what Holker hopes that others take away from her new book. She says, I've been fortunate to have resources that have helped me and I've now teamed up with. So she's working with organizations such as the National Alliance of Mental Health and Maple Counseling. She says, I've learned that there's so many other resources that people don't know about. I've had so many people reach out to me needing to talk, and if I've learned anything, I've learned that mental health can impact anyone at any time in their life. It is important just to be an open vessel to them when they're going through it, listen and allow them space to be who they are at the moment and not make them feel like it's wrong. People that have a lot of light, they still have gone through a lot of dark. And that's okay because you can't have one without the other. So if you or someone you know is considering taking their own life, contact 988. The crisis lifeline is 988. Or text strength to the crisis text line at 741-741. So this far is the title of the book, My Story of Loss, Love, and Embracing the Light. And it comes out February 4th from Harper Select. Okay. So I think the best thing that people did was put this snippet in the hotline information at the end of the article. So that's why I read that. I thought that was really important. But I feel like Allison is getting dragged on social media, rightfully so, because she's profiting off of the passing of her husband. So she knows that he's troubled. The last thing that anyone who, in my opinion, that really loved and respected their spouse would let them rest in peace and not exploit their memory. Two, she said that she felt betrayed that he didn't come to her and tell her about the essay that she found detailed in his journals, allegedly. So the fact that she felt betrayed and she's centering herself, again, writing a whole book about, him, right, exploiting him in his death, essentially, lets me further know that, in my opinion, it didn't feel like he felt comfortable or safe enough in a relationship with her to open up about that. Three, she really contradicts herself, right? On one hand, she says, that he has this really upbeat persona, Twitch, and, all these wonderful things. On the other hand, she says that he would go to their guest house to, partake in all these substances. However, the autopsy report shows that there was not even any traces of alcohol. There wasn't anything found in his bloodstream or his system at the time of his passing. So those things don't align. I feel like there are a lot of inconsistencies in her story. I feel like, the fact that she had his family members sign NDAs is really problematic, especially that just compounds upon the fact that she's now exploiting, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, his passing for profit. You, I can't imagine how his children must feel. I can't imagine how his family must feel, although his family has been very vocal online about how they feel about how, just it feels like a slap in the face for them to have been forced to sign NDAs to even attend the funeral, and now she's profiting off of his passing and off of his pain, essentially. That he was not safe at work. We heard about people talking about just the work environment at the Ellen DeGeneres show, and then him coming home to someone who essentially centers themselves. Um, it just is. In my opinion, I feel like he probably felt like he really had nowhere else to go, except the guest house. And if you are, witnessing someone who is not taking care of themselves and, kind of falling by the wayside, in my opinion, if you're a loving spouse, you want to get that person some help before they do something as drastic as what Stephen did. May he rest in peace. But anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking in regards to Allison writing this essential tell-all book. Um, I feel like it's in poor taste, but those are my thoughts. I want to hear from you. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. Take care, aces. Bye.